and many, many other very complicated realities. One of them, the way we have supported, we are the only country in Latin America with El Salvador supporting the attack against Iraq by President Bush. So, being quite a Catholic country, Colombia, 95% of the population being Catholic, and the enormous authority, moral authority of our bishops, I would expect a clear position there, you know, that we haven't got. And I have told this to the bishops, obviously. Probably you know, there is a problem with the bishop. I don't know if this is the same in the United States. The moment they work in a conference, they try to have a united opinion. In many cases, means they finally, they don't took party. I mean, they don't pronounce themselves. They try to be very careful. Everybody has to be taken into account. But this is not the way of building something up in common.
Thank you very much. I would like to ask a question. I'm wondering about children living in those violent conditions and contradictions. What happens with the children?
It's very confusing for the children. You see them playing, the paramilitaries and the guerrillas among them, you know, playing to kidnap the other kids. This is certainly the reason we have to work so hard on education, starting by the very, very beginning of the schools. And this is also the reason we went through music. The orchestra in Barranca Bermeja, if you listen to them, you will see kids 2 or 3 years, 4 years, they just start playing violin. It's the first time we are playing violin in Magdalena Medio, because we used to have the accordion and the percussion music. But now, 5 years ago, we started introducing small violins with the children. It's fantastic. The impact it produces, and they are able to play vallenatos, Tom, with violins.
In my limited exposure of Colombia, there were
20 years, Tom.
No. But there was a obvious differences or division even within the Jesuit houses about involvement with the political areas and non-involvement. Does that still go on? Do you have that still exist?
No, but I remember by that time, the end of the 70s and the beginning of the 80s, the situation was very conflictual among us. Many contradictions, and even difficult in many aspects, especially the contradiction between the University Javeriana and we who were involved in social action. Now, things are totally different. I mean, there is peace among the Jesuits in Colombia. And even if we have, Jesuits, we have different political positions. But, of course, there are interests. For instance, continually they invite me to talk at the Javeriana University and we have received more than about 400 students coming to Magdalena Medio for an stage there during a term. So they take them, especially women, girls. The only security we have for there is please contact the communities, introduce you into the communities, become friends, brothers and sisters of the communities, and the communities will protect you, and they do. Thank God, they have never kidnapped one of the Javerianos, people from Javeriana University there. So it's not the same situation, Tom. It's changed.
How do you view the new document from the bishops of Latin America in Brazil this past year in terms of a statement that, is it going to excite the world like Medellin did, or is it bland, or?
I'm sorry. I mean, Bishop Jaime Prieto, my bishop, he was in Brazil for the conference. It's my fault, but to be honest, I myself haven't got any relevant point for our work in this document. Sorry, but that could be my fault, my personal limitation.
Or not.
This might be related to an earlier question about resistance, and just in my experience with Colombia, I saw a couple of dichotomous things. One was the, I just lost the word, the fear and the word you used for the groups where they acted with impunity, fear and impunity. Among all the violent groups, the armed groups, and then those in fear living in isolation and distrust. And I was just curious how, through your program and organization, did you get the people to finally say enough, especially in the example that you gave with the paramilitaries trying to drive the peasants out and some deciding to say, no, we're going to stay and to work together as a community. How did you do that?
What we really do, we spend a lot of time with the communities. I mean, we live among the communities, between the communities, and we try to, I have to say that we have a very, very courageous group of people doing that. But when we have what we call a victimized community, I mean a community who have lived in silence, submitting to pressures for years, before by the guerrillas and then by the paramilitaries, like kidnapped the community, you know. We start working before doing any sort of project. We spent 1 year working with the community in order to accompany them in a process of empowerment, in a process of recovering their dignity, of going together, or starting taking the word, talking them, and we create sort of a civil council in the community, who is the one who start usually having discussions and who take the responsibility of the victims present in the community. And in many cases, in these small towns, you have in the community the parents of people who went to the guerrillas or joined the paramilitaries. And you have as well widows, and you have orphans in the community. But we try to deal with the problem in an integral communal way. I mean, we try not